BaT Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Hagerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Gosh, that noise and all that drum beat. I need to get a drum kit in here. Welcome to a brand new episode of BaT Nerds. We are live. My name is John Polnick, coming to you from Las Vegas and downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner Michael Deeb in San Francisco. We got a late start tonight. The power in my building is out, and going up and down 16 floors of stairs is sub fun. But hey, how are you? What's up, Michael Deeb? How you doing?
It's soggy in San Francisco, but at least the power's on. Thank God.
Hot damn. Well, tonight, you may notice I am in Switcher Gary's spot. He is still, I don't know, he's still doing, what does he do? He does that, it's like the vegan racing, or is it like CrossFit racing or something?
He flogs a Miata with a bunch of friends. That's what
that's not what he does at all. That's not it at all. He does the thing that's like, CrossFit, where everybody gets into it and they won't shut the F up about it. What does he do? It's
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. We had the guy that runs the whole circuit. Lemons Racing. He does Lemons Racing.
Yeah,
but he doesn't race his Miata on that. No, he never takes the Miata on that. It's always like they have to be beater cars that are under $500 or something.
What do you think a Miata is?
Where do you get a Miata for $500? See, we're starting off with controversy already.
Yeah.
Michael Deeb clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. So there it is. Neither do I. But geez, if you think you can get a Miata for $500 and you're supposedly are an expert on car, I think we need to get to an actual expert. Why don't you introduce our guest, Michael Deeb?
All right. From the MB market is Blakely. Blakely, tell me your last name. Is it Leonard?
It is Leonard, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't want to guess, but I'm guessing anyways. Blakely Leonard is joining us from?
I'm in Roanoke, Virginia.
Ah, very good. And I understand you're one of the founders of the MB market. I understood tonight you have a co-founder who unfortunately couldn't join us because we can only handle one variable at a time. But was it you and your partner that started the MB market? Is that yours from inception?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and over a very short amount of time, we brought on other partners in the process and built out quite a team at this point. But yeah, it kind of started with just an idea and a dream, and somehow it's ended up here. So,
how many years? What year did MB Market start?
So technically 2019, but it took about 15 months to actually build the website. So we didn't launch the auction platform until 2020, I think it was. But we were in development and kind of, we were posting cars, doing a blog, and things of that nature for those 15 months up till the launch date. So,
and the launch date was after March of 2020.
Yeah, it would have been around March 2020 actually.
Wow, gee, what a coincidence. Unbelievable. Well, fantastic timing. Glad you guys survived, and it seems like it's going pretty well right now. Are you guys meeting or exceeding expectations?
We've definitely exceeded expectations up to this point. We've kind of got a game plan as to how we want to kind of proceed and develop over the next few months and long term as well. So, building out the team, bringing on more experts, more people that can help us achieve the goal. But it's definitely trending in the right direction. We're extremely pleased with the everything from the sell-through rates to the quality cars that we're getting. So it's nice to have a dedicated platform.
The thing I've noticed in just the 3 short years is the quality of the cars is really ramped up. I mean, you guys get some super Mercedes cars, where initially it looked like it was, like lease return E-classes and GLKs. Now you've got, a variety of AMG things. There's a 2.3 liter 16 valve motor sitting on there right now, and all kinds of AMG monoblock wheels. I mean, if you're a Mercedes head, you have to check out the MB market. They've got really cool stuff on there, and the stuff sells. We covered a car a couple days ago for our mutual friend Chris Carbine, his S55, and we'll get into that tonight. So yeah, really fun stuff. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. I know it's pretty late for you back there, but we appreciate you coming on, and we'll try to go easy on you tonight, but maybe not.
The way it's been going tonight, I mean, here's to all my Seatown friends. This is the kind of night that we've got right here, right there. The Ranye is how I'm going to get through this, and we are going to get through this together, assuming I don't spill this all over the soundboard. Okay, if you are new to the show, what do we do here? This is the Price is Right for enthusiast cars, where we hang out with you guys talking about the cars that we think are the most interesting cars from Cars and Bids, Bring a Trailer, PCAR Market, Haggerty Marketplace, MB Market, you name it. We find the most interesting car, and we have a chat with you guys about it, and then we make really lousy predictions that are always wrong, except every now and then I'll get a Yahtzee. But otherwise, Deeb, have you ever gotten a Yahtzee? That's, by the way, when you get it exactly right.
Yeah.
I think you've gotten a Yahtzee before, right? You've got at least one over the I've gotten way more. I've gotten at least 5x more than you have, but you know, I'll just now I got to go actually quantify that, but we won't. All right, so because I do all the buttons work. Okay, before we get to the predictions, though, we do want to shout out to our good friends at Godden Classic. Why don't you tell everybody a real quick story about Godden Classic, there, Michael Deep?
We are sponsored in part by Godden Porsche of Las Vegas, who is the very first Porsche Classic partner in North America. They have the experts, they have the passion, they have the aptitude, they have the equipment, they've got the personnel, they've got the money, they got everything. If you need a Porsche Classic part, if you need service for your Classic Porsche, or if you're looking to buy or sell your Classic Porsche, reach out to Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and let them know that the Bid Nerd sent you.
And we have an announcement soon. Speaking of partners, we've got a cool announcement coming up early in the month, next month. Our good friend Anthony up at Our Smiths in Idaho. Man, if you do you wear a cool watch there, Blakely? You rock it. I mean, you're selling all those Mercedes. You're probably rocking something. What do you got there? That looks like a okay.
It's a Speedmaster.
You got a Speedmaster on tonight.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. We're all rocking Speedmasters. All right. I got a bullshit Swatch one though tonight. You know, when you get that thing serviced, Blakely, you got to send it up to Our Smiths. So we'll have an offline chat on that. Maybe we'll put a link down in the description section. But we will get more official with that soon. Our Smiths, you got to go to those fellas up there in Idaho if you want your beautiful fancy watch serviced.
Our Smiths begins with an H or an O.
H. Hours.
H.
Hours, like hours like of the time. I don't know, whatever. I was going something like that.
Good. I like
That's
it.
a crappy pitch, but they really are awesome. They're fantastic peeps up there. And Anthony, who is part of the original Nerd Herd, is the founder of that company. And I can't wait to get up there and visit the shop there in downtown Boise. Well, downtown Boise is awesome. Have you been there? Have either of you guys been there?
Only flown over it.
I think they're going to start having a watch party up there because we got a bunch of Boise fans up there. So Han's hanging out in the Nerd Herd. And, you know, look, all you guys in the Nerd Herd, Chris is hanging out. We got Randy. We got William. You guys in the Nerd Herd, you're what makes this thing happen. It's so much more fun to have you guys hanging out with us. You guys got to start doing like live streams when you guys watch so we can all patch them in. What's that?
Is William Chef? Is that Chef William?
No. William Boda is hanging out.
What's up,
I think he's William's a friend of Chris's.
William,
right?
type in where you're from. Yeah, type in where you're from.
He's part of the New Orleans,
Louisiana.
All right, so let's get to some predictions that we made last week. Let's reconcile our Blakely, I don't know how you got wrapped up and doing the show. We really don't know what we're talking about. You're an expert. So,
Chris Carbine.
Chris Carbine roped you into this, so sorry.
It's all Carbine's fault. It is, yes.
Always. Okay.
Yeah. Chris Carbine kicked him in the back and put him in front of the camera. That's how he did.
He must not like you very much, Chris. Okay, here it is. Let's get to, what was the first car that we made a prediction on last week? I believe it was that little BMW, so let's bring that bad boy up.
All right, the 2011 BMW 328i sports wagon with a 6-speed manual that was on Bring a Trailer. This was a complete M Sport package car with the bodywork, the suspension, the sport seats. Probably has a quicker steering ratio. I'm sure it's got uprated tires. Very cool car. We loved it because it was silver with all black interior, and it had the aluminum inlay, which makes a huge difference over so many of the BMWs that came with, burl walnut, which is really out of place in sort of a down market sporty car. So this car is really nice. We love that it had a manual. It's got 67,000 miles out of Laurel, Maryland. And then we decided that these cars aren't worth a lot of money. So as much as we liked them, nobody thought this car was going to break $20,000. In fact, I bid $18,000. JP took the under at $17,328, and Mental took the over at $19,328. Blakely, care to venture a guess before we reveal the result of this 67,000-mile manual 328 sport wagon that was on BAT? Knowing that you're in the business, you may be familiar with the car, and you can cheat as much as you want. Nobody cares.
Without knowing too much about that, I mean, as much as I love BMWs and all, I'd say it's probably going to come in right there around the 19.2. We'll go with 19.2.
19.2
Very
is the
good
bid.
guess.
All right.
Yeah, very good guess. He undercut Mental by $128. Without further ado, our car sold for $18,500 on 37 bids, which is a pretty good bid count for a car like this. And I beat Mental and Blakely by just $200. I beat Mental by $328. So that was a close one, but we were all over it. JP, what do you think of that result? Again, I don't think there's any surprises there. That bid falls in line with all 3 or 4 of our numbers.
Yeah, I think we were all kind of on the money on that one. That one, look, this is the kind of car that a lot of people are looking for and want. And boy, I'm struggling on the struggle bus here with our with some of the buttons here. But yeah, I don't know, Blakely, what do you think of this car? Well, I mess with the buttons.
I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it. I mean, I do like the fact that it's a sport, and I'm a huge wagon nerd myself personally. So anything that's a wagon immediately has my attention, and I think is worth more than its sedan counterpart. So the fact that you can get a 6-speed manual, row gears, in a sport pack, because it's not like they gave you the M3 wagon here stateside. So this could be a really good base to start with on that, or if you just want a really cool daily. This would be a really good fit for that.
Yeah,
what Mercedes would be in line with this car?
Probably if you could. I would be looking for either a C or E-Class wagon here stateside, but I mean the E-Class is going to run you significantly more, I think. And they didn't offer the AMG wagon as an AMG stateside, so it'd be a tough run up, but I would still go with probably a E-Class Sport Pack.
Did they ever make a Mercedes wagon with 3 pedals? Ever? I mean, since the 70s or something.
Yeah.
No. Unfortunately not. Everything's pretty much automatic.
Because I know the C320s or whatever came with manuals, but they weren't. But that was only in the sport. But they were
Europe,
sedans.
In Europe 20 years ago, you could have got an E-Class with a diesel, like a 4 or 6-cylinder diesel, turbo diesel that would have come with a manual, but that would have been an all plastic car with cloth seats, something that has nothing to do with the reputation that Mercedes has in the United States.
But I mean, like in 2003, 2004, they had the C-Class that had manuals, but I don't think they had a wagon. Is the trick?
But
right,
always with the smaller engine, not with
wagon.
the 6, only with the 4.
Only with the 4.
And
Yeah, but I mean, this is the smaller engine for the BMW, so I feel like it's closer to that than like an AMG doesn't make sense to like an AMG is like you said, Blakely. This isn't an M. This is a 328. It's the bottom of the barrel, not the top of the barrel. So I feel like even with the 4. Well, wait a second. Didn't the 3 Series, a 320, isn't that a 6-cylinder? Like a C320, like a 2003 C320. Is a 6-cylinder.
Yeah, 320.
And they made those with manuals.
Yeah. Yes, they're extremely rare. Now I don't know if they came with as wagons though. So I've seen sedans and the coupes, I've not seen a wagon
Yeah,
with
I
a
don't think
manual.
they did make a manual. I think you're right. All right, well, let's move on from the BMW and get to the next one there, Michael D. What was next?
As my computer brings it up, let's go over to the Volkswagen Golf Country. This car, I think, was on Cars and Bids. Just waiting for my computer to catch up with my mouth. Oh my God. Sorry, JP. All right, I'm just going to wing it. Our Golf Country was a very cool car with super low miles and a bunch of cosmetic modifications. There was another one that was rolling on BAT, but we were looking at the one that was on Cars and Bids with really low miles, like 47,000 original miles, and it was stateside. That's the big thing. The car was on an Oregon title, which makes it that much more attractive because we never got this car in the United States. So all-wheel drive, manual transmission, modified frame underneath, and then jacked up suspension so that this car truly could go all-terrain. Volkswagen was definitely way ahead of the curve with this 1992 Volkswagen Golf Country. And now, can I bring the damn thing up? Here we go. All right, let me just clarify a couple of things about this car. So it was offered out of Sisters, Oregon, with 41,000 miles when you do the transition from kilometers to miles. So really nice car. Cool mods. I don't know if they enhance the value of this thing. The Nardi steering wheel certainly looks out of place. I don't see. I mean, JP, you live in Washington. Are the heated seats that big a deal to have them there?
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome. But they were kind of unheard of back in that era. So I mean, in
So-
Washington State, yeah, it's miserable and cold and nasty in the Northwest. So
Oh,
hell yeah.
There
I mean,
you
are
go.
Kidding?
And Sparco wheels. Yeah, Sparco wheels. I would change out the steering wheel and then maybe you'd have a cool car. So without further ado, I thought this car could bring $17,000. JP, you went much under at $14,000. And then Mental parked it right over me at $17,800. Blakely, care to venture a guess on the Volkswagen Golf Country on Cars and Bids with 47,000 miles and an Oregon title?
I probably would go with 16, something like that. I feel like it would cost a lot more to build it than it could be to buy it. So
Yeah. So give it to me again. What was your number?
16.
16. Okay.
Well, you realize, Blakely, that this was not built, that this is a factory car, right?
Okay, no, I did not realize that.
Yeah, so this is a rare car that the factory actually made, but they never came. Like, I don't think these ever really came to America, right? Every one of them is a gray market car,
Right.
if I understand correctly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So this car, yeah, I mean, it really does look like the kind of. It makes sense if you're not familiar with this car to think that this is a built car because it looks like something that somebody just put together and did. But when you get underneath it, you see it actually has a drive shaft in a Volkswagen Golf, right? I mean, obviously the Golf R's, have a shaft under there for the all-wheel drive system. But they did make. There was also a Golf Rally, if I remember correctly, in that era that was not jacked up. It wasn't the country version. It was more
It had
of a
box fenders.
Yeah, that car is the one you want. But this car is super, super rare from the factory. And you said we got a number there, Michael Deeb?
All right. So without further ado, our car sold for $21,250 on 46 bids. And the 46 bids, JP, winds up being the high bid count of the week. Mental won that one because he parked over me. It's also worth noting that we were, sort of half-assed keeping an eye on the one that was on BAT. The one on BAT, though, had 157,000 kilometers out of Houston, Texas, as part of the Driver's Source Octomotorfest collection. That car translates to about 98,000 miles, as shown. That car on BAT to the larger audience sold for $26,000. So it had twice the miles and brought another $5,000 for being on the bigger platform. If ever there was a way to compare platforms, I think looking at these two Volkswagen Golf Countries that ran exactly the same time does kind of tell a story. So JP, after hearing the result about both cars, I send it back to you. Any thoughts or takes on looking at that, the way that went? There you go. You got that car up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Zach is in the chat. Zach joined up. He's hanging out here, and Zach is from Cars and Bids. I'd sure love to hear his insight on this. I mean, they had to have been watching both of them, and it doesn't make sense that the car that had 3 times as many miles would
Twice.
bring what's that?
Twice as many miles.
20. Well, how many miles did the 92 have? Are we
41,000 versus 98,000.
Oh, I thought the one on BAT had 150 or something like that.
157,000 kilometers, 98,000 miles.
Okay, got it. It was in kilometers. All right, so my math wasn't crazy. It was just in the wrong increment there. The point is, though, I mean, still, whatever. We're talking about something stupid. What matters is that this one on BAT had way more miles. Whether it's twice as much or 3 times as much, doesn't really matter. It's a significant amount, and it did way better than the one that was arguably
25% more money.
Yeah. So why?
But it's also all stock. It's also mostly stock too. The one on BAT, whereas the one on Cars and Bids was modified. Do you think the modifications hurt it since somebody's paying collector value and not 91 Golf value for the car?
Yeah, but I mean, what mods are we talking about? We're talking about seats and a steering wheel. Big effing deal. You can replace. You can get the stock ones original. I mean, that is absurd. There's no effing way that you can say, oh, people just. I mean, are you telling me, Michael Deeb? Well, maybe I'll ask our guest. Maybe I'll ask our guest. Would you rather have? Hold on. Let me ask the question, and then you get a chance.
I'll qualify the question because I know you're going to ask it tainted. Go ahead, do your tainting.
Half the miles, but not the original steering wheel that you can get online for $400, or twice as many miles with the original steering wheel for 25% more. Which one do you choose?
Seats and door cards and wheels.
Yeah, on paper, I do get your point, but I think a lot of it, sort of a point that's not going sort of to the forefront, is the presentation. I think the presentation of the one on BaT was significantly better than on Cars and Bids. And someone took some time to prep the car. They presented it well. It's proper photos. I think that goes a really, really long way for the online auction world. So I do agree the blue one looks significantly better to me. So I would have put more money on the blue one despite the miles, just because it is such a rare car.
Yeah, I mean, hold on. Don't thank him like he's agreeing with you. He's not agreeing with you at all. He's saying it's a no, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Oh my God.
Oh, jeez. Michael Deeb is supposedly a professional here who doesn't know what he's talking about. The blue one is, I mean, it does look better. I think the presentation is, he said photos, not the fact that it has the same steering wheel. I don't know. That's just like, you can't go out and get, for me, I would rather buy the other one for 25% less money and go find the door cards and the seats and the steering wheel, and you're done. I mean, that's like a couple $1,000, if that. The wheels on the silver one are better than the factory ones, so screw that. I don't think anybody's I mean, it's not like you can't get a set of 4x100 Volkswagen wheels. Those are so hard to come by. That's so rare. Oh my gosh, who's going to be able to find that? All right, what do you guys think of the results of these little Gulf countries? The starter for all the safari madness that we have going now. Wait. Hold on. What do we got? Zach's hopping in here. The originality of the BAT looks better than ours. True. That I think he's agreeing with you, D, but I think they're looking for excuses. Sorry, Zach. I don't think that's it. Half the miles? Come on, man.
Zach knows truth is truth.
He is saying they did a better presentation with the job, and we've had conversations with Zach. That is the constant battle that I think that they have at Cars and Bids. It's not something that they have control over. They can try to put pressure on the sellers to present the cars better, take better pictures, all those things. But
let's ask Blakely. Blakely, how many times would you say you guys refute a submission because the photos or the presentation are not up to the MB market standards? Because what I've noticed is that most of your presentation is really consistent where it is absolutely a variable at cars and bids. So I'm guessing you guys stand like a bouncer at the door and you don't let somebody walk in with flip-flops and a ball cap.
Yeah, it's definitely a point of emphasis for us, just because I think it makes such a huge impact. So, uh, we probably turn down, I don't know, multiple, probably not more than five a week, but on the preface of just purely presentation, we've had some people that we understand, that maybe they don't want to pay $200 for photos or this or that or location. Usually, if they try to take them themselves, they listen to us on taking tips on taking better photos. And if we're on our third set that they've sent us and try to do themselves, oftentimes we'll just try to run with it and just explain that, due to the presentation, this is probably more appropriate reserve.
Yeah.
So, that's where we kind of end things, and we try not to turn people away solely because they refuse to take photos, but there's a quality aspect too that you want to maintain.
Yeah, I mean
Bravo.
that hurts
Good
your
answer.
platform if you let someone on there and they have a crap presentation that makes everyone's experience worse. You do not want to be the car that's in front or behind that one that just looks like dog crap that has pictures of it in front of a dumpster or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that the price that the MB market is willing to pay is up to sometimes 20 cars a month to make sure that they have consistent quality photos. That's a lot of integrity going on right there. I commend you for that, because it must not be easy when you're one of the smaller platforms to let anybody go or have to contest anybody's submission when they say, this is what I got. And you're like, this isn't going to work. That's a tough email to hit send. So I applaud you on that, because I know it's not easy. I mean, I'll take any submission I can get.
Right. well, this is we're finally at a place where we can start doing that. So,
Yeah.
2 years ago, it was sort of like come one, come all, but
Yeah.
we're finally at a point.
Is Michael Deep
Fair
going to
enough.
move from Haggerty to Mercedes Marketplace? I see. Maybe it's
I
going
mean,
horizontal
at this
move, vertical move here. I don't know.
At this point, not by choice. If I do, it's because I got a foot in my ass from Haggerty. All right, so moving on. Let's jump back over to Bring a Trailer, JP, and we're going to look at that 2003 Porsche 911 Carrera. This was a 996 coupe with an X51 package and a 6-speed manual. This car was clearly ordered for somebody who wanted to drive the snot out of it. Showing 71,000 miles and out of Sacramento, California, our car was equipped with some really cool options, including the X51 power kit, the MO30 sports suspension, 18-inch Carrera 2 wheels. The guy modified it with a 997.2 GT3 short shift, but the car also came equipped from the factory with the adaptive sports seats, which is pretty rare in a car that's not even a C4S or a turbo. They did the IMS in July of 2021, and they did the rear main seal and a bunch of other things while they were at it. The car also benefits from having a Pfister exhaust. We hadn't covered a 996, just a basic 996 that wasn't a C4S or an anniversary car in a while. And this one looked like it was equipped, at least initially when it was first ordered, to be a driver's car. Miss me with the all gray interior, miss me with that fixed rear wing spoiler on the back. But there's a lot to like here as far as a driver's car. And we kind of figured this car might not go for too much money. It had previously sold on Bring a Trailer last summer for $40,000. And we were all like, ooh, this guy might be in for a rude awakening, because we don't think in today's market, with interest rates up, the market being soft, and now the rain and the snow falling on 80% of the country, the season for this car has come and gone. And like, this guy might be in for, a shower of cold water. With that in mind, I was the most optimistic because I picked a car and I would like to honestly drive this thing. So I said $29,000. JP came in at $22,996, and Mental came in even further down at $21,996. So Blakely, as described, this just fair condition, fair miles, but some nice options on a basic 996 C2 with a manual and an IMS. It sold for $40,000 last year. I'm not asking you what you think he wanted for it, but what do you think it was going to hammer for on BAT this week?
I think it breaks 30 just because of the prior sell number, 12 months ago. And these cars,
it's its own comp.
Yeah, and these 996s, I mean, they're coming into their own. It's like if you want to get turbo now, you're looking at 50 plus, 60 plus, pretty easy now. And so, This is a car that's kind of coming into its skin now. It's kind of the age for it, and it's a good spec, as you said, for like a driver car. So I can see it breaking 30, 31, something like
31?
that,
All
just
right,
because.
31?
Yeah, we'll go 31.
30,
Yeah.
31's a good guess. And had you been on the show earlier in the week like you wanted to, you would have won this one, but you didn't, so your bid doesn't really count. All right, our car was bid to $34,996 where it failed to sell.
That's
So that means
stupid.
Wow.
That means even BAT. This is what Blakely. This gets me the most. BAT has so many alumni cars that have sold on there before, and it just feels like to me BAT allows their consigners to negotiate unrealistic reserves. Wherever the reserve was on this car, it wasn't even a bridge close enough for them to concede some of their own take to make this car trip. So at basically at $35,000, this car failed to sell. That's all this car is worth. That number was a retail number, and BAT and the consignor both missed it. I blame the platform for not educating or having the hard conversation with the consignor up front and saying, hey, look, man, 2930 is maybe where we give you a reserve, and if you're confident it's going to get back to what you bought it for, then agree to this low reserve and move forward. But for BAT to set it, they couldn't even meet it at 35. I'd say they screwed the pooch. JP, what do you say?
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, Randy was right there all over this one. I don't know what you saw in this car, Randy. I'd sure like to know. The miles were so high. If this were a 30,000 mile car, I could see that number. But even then, I'd be shaking my head going, you are out your mind, dude, for not taking 36 grand for this car. This is your car now. If you better love this thing. You better be happy every time you see that car, because you're going to be looking at it for a very, very long time. Defined very, very long time. Everyone's screaming, correction, correction, correction. Is there really? I feel like we peaked and now we're plateaued and we're just sitting there. These specialty cars are not used cars. We are definitely seeing there's certainly a correction in the used car market when you go to car dealerships. And, if you're looking for a Ford Ranger or something like that, yeah, or, 150 or something like that, yeah, prices on those are definitely falling fast. But 911s are still 911s. It seems like of any generation, 996, air-cooled, whatever, they're all still bringing real money. I mean, it's November, and a 70,000 mile 99 frickin' 6 gets $36,000, gets bid to that, and the seller says, no, you're an idiot. What do you think, Blake?
I can't believe it didn't sell at that number. I'm shocked it got to that number. And the fact that BaT couldn't make up the difference on that to get to the reserve is pretty shocking, because there's no way the car's worth more than it was a year ago.
Right.
By a long shot. So, you should have been able to make up the difference there. I understand there's sometimes with sellers, you want to build a relationship, but you also still got to be kind of realistic. And you're doing them a disservice if you're not being honest with them on the value of the car. So, you want to do that, but at the same time, you don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to lose the car. So it is a little bit of a give and take on these, but I definitely think they overshot by quite a bit on this car.
I feel like even the jagoffs over at PCAR Market could have gotten this one right. They would have been on the phone with this guy going, "What are you thinking? Take the money! Oh my God!" This is at least someone at PCAR Market would be yelling at the guy. I feel like BAT is just so big, and they're just so big for their britches that's just like, whatever. It's just one of a billion other cars, so what do we care? Zach, what would you guys have done at Cars and Bits? He's like, yeah, preach.
Yeah, we would have sold it. Yeah, he's like, we would have sold it.
You would have called the guy. Yeah. $36,000. I don't think they would have been dumb enough to take a reserve higher than $36,000.
Of course they wouldn't. They absolutely would not have. Yeah. No. I wonder if Zach would have taken a reserve with a 3 in the front of it, like at all. Yeah,
that's a good point. Anthony says he doesn't even think this car will bring that in spring. That may have. I mean, that's such a high mark.
He's gonna regret not taking that number.
Yeah, yeah. Or he just loves his 996, and he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to continue loving this car.
He's got a
Firm grip on it. Firm grip on it.
Firm grip on
I
it.
think
Yep.
he. I hope he has kids because now he has an heirloom for them that he'll be
It's not a
inheriting
tomato.
when he passes away. All right, another IMS in his future. All right, what do you guys think of the results of that 996? Did this guy just watch 36 grand fly away? Or
All I want for Christmas is my rear main seal. My rear main seal. My rear main seal.
It is the holidays. He was wishing for a Christmas miracle a little too early. Let's move on to the last car that we made a prediction on last week. And Blakely, what are you doing here? What are you slumming with these idiots? We just don't know what we're doing.
All right, Blakely. This one's close to home. We covered last week Chris Carbine's 2005 Mercedes-Benz S55 AMG that was on Blakely's the MB market. Super cool car. Let me read the spec to you one more time. Hold on. Boom. I am slow, JP. I apologize. And I wasn't drinking tonight. Go figure. Our car has... Give it to me.
Wait, did you just steal Sahan's line? It's
No.
slow. It's always slow.
No. My computer's slow. The car's not slow. I think this car's fast.
You're not picking up what I'm dropping.
I know.
I'm calling you slow. You are slow, not the computer.
I am slow. 119,000 miles. Beautiful paint. The Carbine at Carbine Motor Cars bought this car a little bit over a year ago. Sold it to a repeat customer. That guy lives in the area. Enjoyed the car. Did a paint correction to it and brought it back to Carbine Motor Cars, where Chris, through his relationship with Blakely, decided to put the car, not the first car he's done on the B market, but thought this would be a perfect candidate for the platform. Brought it on there and gave it to us to cover, which we did. We all agreed that we liked the car, and we love that they did address something in the ABC, the ABC suspension. There was a faulty sensor when Carbine originally got the car and took care of it, and then the guy who owned the car this last year or and a half or so has enjoyed the car with no problems, which is fantastic. So the car comes back to market. We looked at the platform, and I started the bidding at $10,900. I figured this car is worth about 11 grand, and it was sitting at like 6 when we started looking at it. JP, you said $17,000, which is interesting because when you just sort of look at on paper the smaller scale of the MB market, I don't know where you thought this car was going to get at that time, $11,000 rally in the final day of coverage. But that's what the number you gave us was 17 grand. I feel like you were pandering a little bit to Chris Carbine, who is a great bid nerd of the show. And then Mental took the over on you and went $17,550, which is a really good bid. Blakely, we don't need to ask you because we know you know. But without further ado, our car did sell on the MB market at $10,750, meaning I missed a Yahtzee by $150, which would have been a 5-digit Yahtzee, by the way, and 32 bids. Blakely, as we come back to you, 32 bids on a 120,000 mile, large platform car, an S-Class, an S-AMG, SLs with 12 cylinders. These cars are all super soft. They all start at 100, 160 grand. And then, 10, 15 years later, these cars, I don't want to say are worthless, but they're incredibly soft in the secondary market. Is 32 bids as a bid count, were you surprised by the action on this car? Or for the nerds who don't pay enough attention to your platform, is that what we've come to expect, that any kind of car in that sub $30,000 range is still liable to get 30 plus bids at any given moment? Is that common, or is that outstanding? Because I thought that was an outstanding number of action in the going into the final day before Hammer. So I send it to you. What did tell us? Give us your play-by-play on how this one went. Normal or not normal?
Yeah, I would say that. For that, I think that's a high number for that car for sure. Because sometimes you can't always go by the bid numbers, just because if somebody throws out a high bid early on, then that's gonna it's gonna skew that number. It's gonna kill a lot of the guys that were thinking they're gonna get it cheap or whatever. So this one was interesting because you do get a lot of bang for your buck. You're getting a 6-figure car with a supercharged V8, top of the line S-Class, and you can have it for a little over 10 grand. It's pretty impressive. The cars that have 50, 60,000, half the mileage of that, sure, they're going to go in the higher teens. And then I think a lot of these come down to color too. People are all about colors when it comes to these older Benzes, but I was definitely pleased with the action on this. There was a lot of bids, a lot of guys trying to go for it, so it was definitely a solid auction.
Yeah, I sold Mercedes-Benz in 99 and 2000 and again in 2008. And yeah, it was fun to order, like when this generation of the S-Class came out in 99. I ordered one for a friend of mine in like a bright metallic green. That was a really great car. And then he sold that car to a friend of mine with like 200 and something thousand miles on it. That car just kept going and going and going. So they are, I don't want to say tank-like, but they are still good cars. I mean, this car is kind of at the tail end of the cars that were made during the Mike Jackson era of Mercedes-Benz in North America. They weren't built like the generations before them, but they're still really good cars, and there's a lot of technology that goes into them. JP, what did you think of the result? You and Mental were kind of way over on that. Were you guys just being nice to Carbine, or did you really think this car?
We actually like Chris, unlike you apparently. I mean,
right?
You don't even like the guy. No, honestly, I just don't feel like there's. I mean, a $10,000 car. What the hell is that? You look on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and what do you get for 10 grand? You get a Camry of the same year, or a 200,000 mile FJ Cruiser or whatever. It used to be that you could go into any of those types of places like Craigslist or Marketplace or OfferUp or whatever and find a $2,000 or $3,000 Mercedes. That was a thing all the time. Now that because of get your drinks ready, guys, inflation, that $2,000 or $3,000 car is now a $6,000 to $8,000 car. So I just look at something like this going, God, it's not an S500, it's an S55. I mean, that is so much freaking car. And we saw the SL55s of the same era. They had kind of come down when everything was cheap down to, it was pretty common to find those for 15 grand, no problem. But now to find a nice SL55 of the same era, you're looking at $25,000. I figured that tide would bring this car up a little bit to like at least 15 for as nice a version of one as I think I've ever seen. I guess the flip side to that is that these cars, I think most people are scared of a $150,000, $200,000 car that is now only worth 10 or 11 because the car doesn't know that it's only a $10,000 or $11,000 car. So when you bring this thing in for maintenance, it still thinks it's a $200,000 car. So the maintenance bills are going to be commensurate with that larger number, not the small Camry number. What do you think of that, Blakely?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are scared of the ABC suspension on these.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I mean, this one had service done to it, which is great. And a lot of people, it's like when those issues do come, sometimes they're minor and you can get them fixed relatively inexpensive, but it's kind of like with the M156 engine, everyone, the head bolt issue, everyone kind of, that's the main focus of the thing when really it's a very, very, very small percentage of cars that have a failure. And so, but just the overall discussion about that car with that not aromatic, people want the aromatic, but the ABC, it scares a lot of people off. So, people that are buying a $10,000, $15,000 car don't want to think about having a, 4-figure repair bill if the suspension goes bad. So I think that scares a lot of people off sometimes.
If Mercedes had built these cars with just conventional suspension, would these cars be worth infinitely more money?
I think so. Even though it was, state of the art technology back then, it does ride amazing. I will say it's extremely impressive when you're actually driving it. But I think that from a long-term standpoint, now here we are 20 years down the road. Yeah, I would say so, because the M113, I mean, it's so bulletproof. The .6 transmission, I mean, it's probably one of the best pairings they ever came out with. So wow. Yeah,
very good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, S classes have always been the top end when it comes to technology. That's always the place where whatever crazy technology that it winds up being in Kias 10 years from now is in the S-Class right now. That's always where the latest whiz-bang-ish comes out. And unfortunately, the early versions of certain tech usually winds up being the most complex, ergo most expensive to repair later. So air ride systems are pretty darn common, but I just went through an air ride failure on my stupid Macan, and that was crazy expensive. Mental, who is usually here, our switcher Gary, he's crazy about these cars, and he swears that he could fix the ABC for hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. And I think he's crazy, but he swears by it. So I don't know. I guess if you're willing to turn a wrench, it's a whole different ball of wax, but isn't it always like that with any car?
Very good.
All right.
Congratulations, Chris Carbine. Congratulations to MB Market. And congratulations to the new buyer, the new owner of the 2005 Mercedes-Benz S55 AMG. JP, if you want to do us a commercial break real quick, and then we will get on to our new cars of the first half of the week.
Yep, and let us know what you think of the results of this auction and all the auctions. We love hearing from you guys and learning from the Nerd Herd. We're really appreciative of all you guys who are hanging out with us live right now, but it's also great to get comments after the show is no longer live and people watch it later in the week. So we will be right back with a whole batch of new predictions with Blakely and all the Nerd Herd. We'll see you in just a minute. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds.
Get those nerds!
Yeah, have you subscribed yet? Are you guys, I mean, I'm sure everyone watching live has subscribed by now. You guys have all subscribed, right? You've hit the notification button, do all that kind of stuff. You know what the Nerd Herd does really well, and we're seeing this every week, is they're spreading the word. The herd spreads the word. Share one of our videos with someone on the socials. If you're out there, because people keep hearing about the show. They're like, really? That sounds awesome. And then they watch and they're like, that is awesome. So really help us out when you guys actually share an episode. So
and the other thing we want to do is, you guys used to talk about when we would cover a car, but we would cover a car in the old days before we went live. After the car had closed, that's when we would publish. So it was very hard for the Nerd Herd to talk. But now that we cover cars that haven't closed, if you're registered with any of the different platforms, go ahead and comment and mention that the Bid Nerds covered that car in the comments before that car closes. That would help us grow the show. We really appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah, and it is so awesome to see the comments on BAT when you're watching one of the cars and you see somebody say, oh, the nerds hate this thing or the nerds love it. That's fun to see. So do that. All right. Whole batch of predictions. The first car, is this one made for Mr. Leonard here? Or all right?
It will be. Mr. Leonard's going to be mad that we didn't bring it to his website, but that's all right. So currently live on Haggerty Marketplace, being represented by yours truly, is my family mechanic, Andre Yazbek. This is his 14,000 mile 2016 Mercedes-Benz G63 AMG with the very, very rare, what do you call it? AMG Performance Studio package. And this car is featured in the Uber exclusive, although this paint was available on an earlier Mercedes. In 2016, it was only offered on this option package on this car, Solar Beam Yellow, otherwise known as Crypto Bro Yellow, Nouveau Riche Yellow, I Live in Miami Yellow, I'm Having a Midlife Crisis Yellow. I don't know, there's a lot of different names for it, but Mercedes calls it Solar Beam Yellow. Spectacular condition. As Andre owned the car for the last 3 or 4 years, he actually wrapped the car in matte black. And then I said, I'm only selling this car if you take the wrap off, because that's what's going to drive the price to the number he wants for it. So anyways, super cool car. The studio package is $20,000. And I don't know much about it, so I'm really interested to see if Blakely can back up what I suspect, which is only a handful of dealers were offered one of these things, because when I searched for comps, I could only find 2 previous sales of an AMG studio package, and one was in like a fuchsia candy red, and the other one was in like remember that toxic orange Viper we covered, JP? You know, it's like a Lamborghini burnt orange metallic, whatever. And then there's this yellow one, which is the third one I've seen come to market in the last like 3 or 4 years. So I think this package is super rare, not to be confused with any of the Designo nonsense. This is a really high-priced, styling cue with the quilted leather and the yellow stitching and the Mercedes black metallic fenders and then the black wheels and all the shebang. Excellent condition. I drove the car to get the photos taken. It's in spectacular condition. No creases on the leather. Everything smells new inside. No paintwork, no stories, no services are needed. This car is turnkey and ready to go. The price of new cars, I understand, is in the $160,000, $180,000 range for a G63. Correct me if I'm wrong, Blakely or JP. So I'm hoping this car is of value as we get into the final day of closing, which is basically coming up here tomorrow, or on Tuesday, I should say a couple days from now. So, so JP, I'll send it to you first, or should we go straight to Blakely? What do you think?
Yeah, go to Blakely.
Blakely, do you know about the AMG Performance Studio package as an option? Did they offer that on any other AMG cars besides the G-Wagon? And then what do you think of the trucks, or this generation of the trucks? And then we'll ask you for a bid later. We'll come back to the numbers, but just tell us what you think about the car, and then maybe you feel free to comment on the platform. What do you think of how Hagerty has launched their marketplace online auction platform, which is basically just a year old, in its infancy, but doing pretty good because folks like you and Cars and Bids and BCAR Market sort of blaze the trail. So Blakely, go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, no, I mean it's an awesome spec. I think a lot of people don't realize what it is. So a lot of people, are thinking Designo, or it's just, they see the yellow, and I think it can be polarizing to a lot of people. But for those that understand what it is a very, very cool spec, and extremely rare, as you said. So, it's one that, with that kind of mileage too, it kind of sets it apart from the crowd. I think most of these that you see probably have normal mileage, but 50,000 plus. So finding one with that kind of mileage, with that spec, it's definitely a special vehicle. And I love that it's on the platform too. I think that's great. Obviously, would have loved to steal it from you, but no, I think it's awesome. I really think it's awesome. So it's a great spec, and the G-Wagons, I think we're the only ones to do those sort of special packs like that. Yeah. So and I like it. I'm the drivability of the newer Gs, the more rounded Gs. I hate to do it, but I hate to admit it, but they drive really, really well. Those I still like better just because it feels more, original, sort of to the roots. So I like it for that. I would definitely be, interested in it if I was not a Land Cruiser fanatic.
Yeah. So Zach Miller saying they came in 5 different colors in that AMG Studio Performance package, which is cool, Zach. I was trying to find information, and I was really struggling to get data on this car. JP, what do you think of this car? I know one of your best friends in the whole wide world has had several G squared, but he's had some just regular Gs as well, right?
Well, he had one of these. He had that green one. What was it? It was like a alien type green, crazy color. I remember when I got it. I'm like, that is the douchiest color I've ever seen. Nice work. Because and I drove that car a lot. I actually drove it to Phoenix and back. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah. Look, I'm not with you there, Blakely. I don't like the way the new ones drive. They do drive nice. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's the nicest minivan you've ever been in. And this is coming from someone who drove one yesterday with the Rentec kit. We were going 140 miles an hour out in the desert. We'll just say that. And yes, they it's amazing what you can do on the crest in one of those, following someone in like a 911 RS, and you're like keeping up in a stupid bread box that's, a gajillion pounds. But I just love the feeling of these old ones. They're smaller. They remind me of, in an odd way, the old 911s, air-cooled 911s. They don't drive anything like them, but there's something about when you get into an old 911, doesn't matter what year, what configuration, whether it's a 993 RS or, a 74 mid-year with this crappy, mid-year engine. It's just they all have that kind of same feel. When you close the door, it makes that click noise. There's not quite enough room in the damn thing. They didn't have the cup holders are like an afterthought, just like in the old air-cooled 911s. I love these colors like this. I actually, when you talk about off-road vehicles that these were actually inspired by, nobody's taking this and mobbing it up some, trail like they would, a 76 FJ or something like that. But when you look at all those CJ5s, CJ7s, the old Land Rovers of the same era, they're all bright colors. And the reason why they were bright colors is because every now and then they rolled off the road down a mountain and someone would have to go look for you. And if you had a green one or a black one, you would be in the trees and you die. But if you've got a bright blue or a bright green, off-road vehicle, and you happen to roll down the mountain and your leg's broken, you can't get yourself out, well, some guy in a little MASH helicopter will see you from thousands of feet in the air, and they'll send someone to save your butt. So I guess if you roll this thing in a mall, the moral of the story is that they'll be able to find you. I don't know. Is that a bonus? What will a crazy color vehicle, Mercedes vehicle to be specific, bring crazy money like the crazy colors do when it comes to Porsche? That's the big question. Michael Deeb, you get first bid. Where do you think this thing's going to land?
I'm going to recuse myself because it's my listing on my platform. But what I will tell you is that our car closes in 2 days from now. It's currently sitting at $63,700 on 27 bids. The car has gotten 5,127 views, which is low. I was hoping this car would be closer, honestly, I was hoping this car would have 10,000 views, which is typical for our cars. That's kind of the median is 11,000 views for each of our lots. At this stage of the late summer for us, Blakely. So 5,000 views makes me feel like that's weak. And I've reposted this car on 6 different Facebook, groups, like the Mercedes group and the Mercedes fans and the AMG and the G-Wagon group that all have, 50 and 100,000, members worldwide. I was really hoping this car would get more action than it has. But I still got 2 days. This car does have a reserve. So, Blakely, I send it to you and ask you for your bid on the AMG in Solar Beam Yellow.
Well, I would probably go with it's a really tough one, but I'll probably hit it at 105. Just because mileage is low, it's a rare spec, but at the same time that it can be polarizing to some people. So not everyone's gonna jump on it. Some people are gonna think, well, I'm gonna get one to drive, and they'll go get a 50,000 mile one for, I don't know, 70 or 80 or something. So, but for the person that knows what it is and can appreciate it and wants that, new car experience, because that is really low mileage, I could see you getting into the 6 figures pretty easy. So I'm going to go with 105.
Okay. JP, where you at?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, because we're definitely see a softening on whatever, there's softening on all kinds of stuff. But, we saw really kind of disastrous results on that G squared. And I know this isn't a G squared, but, right. I was thinking, we were all talking about it breaking 200 and it didn't even get it anywhere near that. This is the kind of rig 6 months ago definitely would have got $125. I would way rather have this one than any new one, including the new squared. But
that squared that we looked at it failed to sell at $165,000 on Bring a Trailer with really, really low lower miles than this car. Yeah. And it was only 22 bids. It didn't get a lot of action on BAT. I mean, we're on Marketplace and I got 27 bids already, which makes me feel good.
Where's it sitting at now already, Deeb? I'm sorry, I forgot.
That's okay. I'm going to say it right back to you. Hold on. $63,700 on 27 bids.
Still has a couple of days to go. I think it's going to have a hard time breaking 100. What was Blakely's number?
Blakely was 105.
105. I'm going to say 99,063. I think it's worth more. It's crazy because you see, $80,000 G63, $90,000 G63s all over the place with twice to three times as amount of miles, but I don't see them moving. And I see a lot of G-Wagons sitting on car dealership lots that have been there a while, and we're already seeing them slash, which is weird because if it were like a 911 or a convertible or a Ferrari or something like that, you can make the argument that, okay, the driving season's over. Who wants to drive a sports car? People are going to be putting these away. But this is a G-Wagon. You can drive it all year long. If it snows, great. That makes it more fun. This is in the Northwest, you always saw, the prices of SUVs would take an ish over the summer, but as soon as the fall came around, they would all spike, and then the motorcycles and convertibles were worthless. So, we got some numbers from the Nerd Herd. Anthony is saying 97,630, so he's pretty close to me. Chris is at $110, so he's thinking it's going to break 100.
Thank you, Chris
Lucas
Carbine.
is at $106, 300. Yeah, Chris Carbine likes you better than apparently you like him. Just saying, you were pretty harsh with your bid on his car.
My bid was over what it sold for. How do I not get credit for that?
Man,
my God, I was right on the money. The only one I failed
like
was
all our
Solomon.
best friends, you just kick them in the balls. Oh, Solomon, your car is worthless.
Oh my God,
man! So you guys want all the money for your car? Hire me to make a film about it, and it'll bring big ass money. Okay, let's. Well, you know what? That reminds me. Speaking of me. Zach, when are you gonna get me on a show with you guys and Doug? When's that gonna happen? When are we doing this? We gotta. I feel like Doug is kind of stealing. Like, have you seen? Doug's been doing like live, coverage of auction closes. I'm like,
Zach, JP.
It's a little sus.
JP's been drinking, and he thinks you're what you call it?
No, who's
Doug
been drinking now?
Manager.
Yeah,
Doug DeMiro's manager, and he forgets you actually have a paying job and that you don't work like that.
Doug lives and breathes by Zach Miller's word. He serves at the pleasure of Zach. He's the guy behind the guy behind the guy. That's how this actually works. All right, let's move on to the next prediction. I'm pretty stoked about this next one, talking about weird colors and stuff that I've never seen one of these. Deep, have you even seen one of these? Introduce this car. Holy effing ish. I had no idea this existed.
Blakely's all, move it along, guys. I got to go to bed. It's like 4 in the morning on the East Coast. All right. So on Bring a Trailer right now, there is a 2003 Porsche 911 Carrera C4S. This is a coupe with the X51 package, a 6-speed manual, and paint to sample ice green metallic. This is an unbelievable lot. The car has 93,000 miles, is represented by the seller, not a dealer, out of Harrison, Ohio. This guy has been getting all kinds of accolades about the color of the car. They had to teach him how to pull up the carpet and take a photograph of the sticker showing the paint code on the inside fender well of the driver's side. But one or two people have asked him about the IMS bearing, and to date, this car closes tomorrow. To date, he has not answered the question as to whether or not this car has, in fact, been had a modified or upgraded IMS bearing. The car did have a minor accident in its history on the Carfax report, but I kind of feel like at this point the IMS is the bigger issue. It has not been addressed to the best of my knowledge. I read every single comment before we brought this car forward because it wasn't mentioned by BAT in the ad, and then it was asked by one or two people in the comments, but not addressed by the seller. So I think that is holding him back, and I don't know why more people aren't jamming him up for it, because I also think he's just the current owner. This car's had 5 previous owners. So I still feel like he needs to answer the question, even if he doesn't know the answer. So really nice car with the black interior. Somebody was giving him grief about the stone guards, saying that should only be on a car from the 80s. And then he took pictures of the car with the stone guards off because they are metallic. They're magnets. So really cool stuff. Very nice. I love the color, but I think he absolutely whiffed photographing this car on a lawn. This car should have been photographed in a parking garage or in a city against some buildings, or maybe down at the beach. But the green on green is absolutely just completely swung, missed, threw the bat, and killed an innocent nun. So just I don't think the car looks good at all in these photographs, even though I believe the ice green probably looks really good on this car. So I do think he missed. And when we get to the numbers, you'll see the numbers really low where it sits. And I don't think it's going to double like it does on some Porsches on the final day. I think this car is going to struggle. That's my early tease for what I think is going to happen. So JP, Blakely, who wants to jump in next?
Let's let Blakely hop in here. Have you had any experience with these cars of this era?
A little bit. I've got a lot of buddies that are huge Porsche guys, and I mean, I love Porsches myself. Never been a huge fan of these particularly. I'm a 993 kind of guy, but where's the bid currently at on this one?
It's at 46,000, but you don't have to give us your bid now. Like I said, I think that the issue that he's struggling with is going to be not addressing whether or not the IMS has been handled, because I think that does make a difference. Because it's $3,000-4,000 today. And people want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the responsiveness and the transparency of a seller goes a really, really long way for bidders' confidence. So I could see it stunting and people holding back just purely based on the fact that he hasn't answered anything about the IMS at this point. And I'll go back to the presentation thing. As you were saying, the photos don't do it justice at all, because that's a really, really cool color.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get the sense, now I haven't read through all the comments and stuff like that, but I just get the sense that this seller is not, a dyed-in-the-wool 911. I don't think this guy bought this car because of the color. I'm sure he didn't mind it, but I'm sure it's not like the kind of car that I don't see this guy being a hardcore Porsche-phile. If he didn't know where the paint code was, if he's not answering the IMS thing, my guess is he's never freaking heard of an IMS. And that happens very often with cars like this. I suspect that this guy rolled up into a car lot and saw that they had a Porsche and he liked the color at that point, but didn't realize that it was like crazy rare. And then
one of one.
Yeah, one of one.
Yeah.
And I think that despite this is one of the rare situations where the ignorance of the seller may actually help him, because it doesn't appear that he's trying to cover something up. I think he's just aloof. And I think that people are going to go freaking bonkers over this. I think this could easily double in the last 24 hours. And I don't think, because look, it's at 40 something thousand dollars already with 93,000 miles. This should be a $25,000 car tops, no IMS and 93,000 miles. If it were a silver one or a red one or some other normal color, but the fact that this is a crazy green color, particularly ice green metallic. Look, Rami has his ice green metallic 930 turbo that we all know that car. That car, I've gotten brands to pay us thousands of dollars so that they could put it on billboards to have the model stand in front of it. That car just gets so much attention because of the color. We've all seen that color on air-cooled cars. None of us, and we are crazy Porsche people, and I might be one of the most crazy C4S 996 people around. I've had, 5 or 6 of them, and I've never heard or seen one this color. So I'm pretty bullish on this, despite its obvious problems. What do you think it's going to bring, Michael Deeb?
All right, featuring a 6-speed manual, the X51 Carrera Power Kit.
Has an X51. I'd missed that.
Black adaptive sports seats, PSM and ABD. This car is equipped to drive, and it's got the looks to go with it. Despite the 93,000 miles, despite the IMS bearing, and despite the fact that it had a minor accident in its history, I do think this car is going to do well, but I don't think it's going to double in value. I think those things are going to hold it back a little bit. Sitting at $46,000 right now on 10 bids, not a lot of action. I think this car is going to make it to $65,000, where I believe it will sell. I think this guy is not looking to break the bank. If all those things were addressed, this car had a few less miles on it, yeah, I could see this being an $80,000+ example. But I just don't think they're going to go that crazy for it. And anyways, that's it. I'm going to give it to you, JP. $65,000 is my bid. I'll send it to you, and then maybe we send it to Blakely.
Yeah, I'm going to go 60,996. I'm with you. I don't actually think it's going to double. The miles are just too darn high. But I think it's going to be tight. I think between my bid and yours is where it's probably going to land, Michael D. What do you think, Blakely?
Where you at?
Well, I was gonna originally go 60, but I'm gonna drop it down to 57. 57
Woo!
feels good. It's the mileage.
Yeah,
it's the mileage.
Yeah. I mean, because it's going to be over 100. Yeah, and the IMS and all those other things. But I think the mileage is probably the biggest problem. Usually I say the opposite, that the IMS is the bigger problem. Because look, the good thing is that this car has enough miles. The IMS probably would have gone by now if it didn't already. Or maybe one of the 3 or 4 other owners had it replaced. That's entirely likely as well. Everyone's in that. Everyone's kind of in that mid 50s to mid 60s, and we will see next. Let's hear. When are we going to find out what happens? We'll know this on Wednesday. Sahan thinks it's going to be 55,996.
Carbine said 54.5.
Yep. So we're all kind of right in there. So this will be interesting results to see how much more money. I mean, look, Deeb, I always bust your chops because you get all giddy about numbers. How many? Oh, there's only one of them. There's only 6 of them. There's only 200 of them. Whatever. I think that stuff is the dumbest ish ever. But this is a 1 of 1, man.
Probably.
C4S.
Somebody in the comments they saw a C4S in Dubai in ice cream metallic.
Okay.
A couple of years ago. So that's 2 that have been spotted on the planet, which does make it kind of a rare car.
Yeah.
All right. Enough pandering to our guest host. Time to put him in the hot seat. As we announced about a week ago that we were going to cover Chris Carbine's 2000 something S55 AMG, and we were teasing ahead that we were going to have Blakely on the show. Sahan said, Deeb, dude, you guys got to cover that 1994 Mercedes-Benz E500 limited edition on the MB market. So we are going to put you in the hot seat a little bit here, Blakely, just before you go to bed and have nightmares about ever having been on the show. Super cool car. The consignor is none other than RMC out of Miami, Florida. This is the outfit, JP, that you know very well because our really dear friend, Rami, has bought 2 cars from them over the last, just year. Was that fair to say, JP? 2 cars in a year?
Which dealer is this?
RMC Miami.
Oh, this is RMC. Yeah, he's gotten 2 cars from those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So this car, they, I believe, sourced out of Japan. The car is showing, as they say in the ad, and this is something, source of contention that we'll get to in a little bit. The car is showing 80,000 kilometers, which is 50,000 miles on the Brabus odometer out of Miami, Florida. The car had a lot of service done in preparation for the sale. It's cool that a lot of service was done, but I wonder why a car with 50,000 miles had so much service. These are the notes I'm making to myself. And also, it seems that there's some aftermarket Alcantara on the door cards and on the steering wheel where there would have been really cool hued green leather to match the seats, which are part of the LTD package that came on this car. I also think this car came with 17-inch Evo 2 wheels, and they've been upgraded to 18-inch AMG monoblocks, which look fantastic, but they're not the correct wheels for the car. So it really depends on if you're looking at this car as something you're just going to drive, or if you're thinking this is a car they never sold in the United States and I'm investing in it as a collector car, then you have to spend some more money on it to bring it back to stock. And so I wonder if that hurts the value. So I keep reading, and as we get to the bottom, they go on to say that the car actually has 140,000 miles when you add up the correct Japanese DMV accounted for the original odometer and the current odometer. It's actually 140,000 kilometers and then 86,000 miles because they upgraded or wanted the vanity of the Brabus TAC, and for allegedly no other reason. That to me is kind of weird. And again, it's not a reflection on the MB market. It's just kind of weird how RMC presented the car. Then they go on in the last paragraph, and this is what I want to tease Blakely a little bit about, that they say it's one of 951. And I feel like saying that this is a limited edition car and then listing the number that it's one of 951. Something should have been in the lead paragraph and not in like the final or bottom paragraph. Then RMC also shows a picture of Lewis Hamilton driving the car, and then they say that it's actually him in this actual car. But again, that's just a claim. There's no way of proving that. They're like, oh, just look at the headlights. I'm like, well, okay. So I just thought that was kind of weird. Now, RMC is a funny outfit. They bring a lot of cars in from overseas. Anything out of South Florida, you got to take with a grain of salt. We know that. But I also don't want to put Blakely on the spot and ask him to pick on probably one of his bigger fish, because RMC does get really cool cars. They are usually limited high-performance vehicles that are worth a lot of money. So I imagine that's one of their better clients. But it comes back to something we were saying earlier about how far will the MB market go towards curating the cars and being part of the directive of how the cars are brought to market. And so this thing with the way the car is written up in the beginning and where it comes out and is revealed later what the actual mileage is on the car is kind of misleading, and it's brought up in the comments. So without putting it under too much pressure, I didn't expect any of this when I read the car. I just thought it was a fun limited edition car that one of our one of our nerd herds had come up with. But are you familiar with the car, Blakely? And what do you think about the way it's presented? Are you okay with the way this came to market? Did we lose Blakely?
Oh, I think we lost Blakely. Look at that. You're sitting here teeing him up, and he dipped out. He said, I'm out. He said, I can't do it anymore. Oh, my gosh.
Phone died. That is the ultimate exit stage left.
Did his phone die? Is that what happened? Okay.
I don't know. I know he was on his phone. Yeah, and we go long, so he might have had a dead phone and not even known, which is hilarious. So
Blakely, if you're out there and you want to dial back in, just hit the same thing, and we'll get you. He says, "Can you see me in the chat?" Yes, we can. You want to log back in?
Oh man, that's funny. In the meantime, JP, what do you think of this car?
I'm a little scared to say. I have issues. I'm not going to say that I have issues with the seller. I don't know them. My friend obviously has bought a couple of cars from them.
Really likes the guys. He really likes them.
He does, but I feel, I feel like sometimes our mutual friend, he gets kind of caught up in the hype of things that he really wants, and he put some blinders on. I mean, his roof. If you had bought the roof that he bought from these guys, looks like okay, he's coming back in. Blakely's back. All right.
Put some blinders.
Hey Blakely, put your headphones in. If you had bought
Blakely,
the roof, put your headphones in.
That he bought from these guys.
I can't.
Looks like okay, he's coming back in. Blakely's back. All right. Put some blinders. Hey Blakely,
not gonna work, buddy.
Not gonna work, buddy.
Can you not hear me?
No, you're causing feedback because we can hear you.
Blakely.
All right, yeah,
Just
that's
flushing.
not going to work.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, hey, look, if you want to come back in, Blakely, you're going to have to get some headphones because if you're listening to it, it's causing terrible feedback. So, unfortunately, we got some technical issues with our guest. But yeah, so this seller, look, the one of the cars that he bought, again, he loves the car, and I've driven the car, and it's one of the most spectacular cars I've ever driven. But if you and I would have bought it, we've been pretty pissed because he spent $30,000 at our good friends at God and Classic to make it right. The car had all kinds of problems. He spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to make the car right. But he didn't care. He went and bought another car from those guys, and frankly, it wasn't wasn't right.
He didn't pay for an inspection, so I mean, he got what he paid for.
Yeah, and he's. Again, he's one of those guys that he doesn't care. He buys it. He just saw the thing that he wanted. He got it, and it wasn't right, and he went and spent a bunch of money because he doesn't care. But most of us aren't like that. Most of us aren't going to spend $200-something thousand on a car, get it delivered, and find out that we got to drop another $30,000 on it. Most of us would be pretty goddamn pissed off about that. And that is the reality of the situation with this particular seller. And the other car was, like I said, not much better. In fact, a lot worse. And, you know, I look, again, I don't know the guys. I'm sure they're super nice guys, but listening to them on the phone, having the conversation, oh yeah, it's going to be fine. You know, it's like, you know, Rami's like, yeah, I'm super excited about it. I'm like, hey, is it going to overheat? You know, it's 110 degrees here all the time. He's like, oh, no, you can't drive it that hot. And Rami's like, it's going to be fine. I'm like, no, it's not. Yeah, anyway, so not all buyers, I guess just buyer beware, you know, and that is one of the problems that buying a car on any of these platforms is very difficult to do, because why would you get a PPI on a car that you may or may not own? You can only do the PPI if you're talking to a seller and you're negotiating a deal. Okay, here's how much I'll pay for it, barring as long as it passes a PPI screening. But on these cars, you're bidding, and if you win the bid, you have to buy the car. I mean, you know, so I don't know. It's a tough situation, and I think that a dealer like these guys would do well to provide an independent PPI to be supplied with their listing to kind of overcome some of those objections that, let's be honest, South Florida dealers are South Florida dealers. What do we think this car is going to bring? We lost Blakely. He looks like he is. Yeah. I don't know if he's still trying, but
super cool car. And I look, RMC gets some really incredible cars down there in Miami. They really do. And this car is also really, really cool. I didn't like how MB Market didn't do a better job of being a custodian for what the true mileage was on the car. So it's, you know, they say in other words, they presented it as what the current tachometer or odometer reads, and not presenting it with what they know to be on the car. And somebody brought that up in the comments and said, you know, hey, could you clarify, because it reads like it's only got this, but now you're saying it has that. And then somebody else comes in and says, hey, it reads fine, I don't have a problem with that, which to me was somebody that like was a friend of RMC Miami's defending them because it was like the very next comment and seemed very defensive, which I thought was really weird. The other thing that it was weak, and I'm not that I dislike it, but like RMC is claiming that Lewis Hamilton drove this car, but they have no proof of that. It's like saying, oh yeah, I banged Sidney Crawford. Like, okay, well, all right. That's just a story. You know what I mean? Like, I can't prove that to you, even if I say, well, I don't get into it. But anyway, but other than that, the presentation of the car is really nice. The car itself is super, super cool. And then we get down to the nitty gritty of what we think it's going to do. So basically the car closes tomorrow. It's sitting at $50,000.
Well, hold on, Deeb. Are you seeing the comments here? So Blakely is chiming in via the chat. He says the car has the 958 limited code on the data card, which is important. It is the one that Hamilton drove when F1 was in Miami. I don't know how they substantiate that. He continues and says, but still not saying that's a provable thing, but the details of it does show that. Okay, I guess. We do have a good relationship with the seller. And they are transparent with their listings. It's such a rare spec with a cool color combo, but it is TMU, so it does say TMU though. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm willing to believe that. Yeah, it's what's his name drove it. Okay, still, I don't know. I making it a definitive statement makes me sus. But again, okay, great. Why not? It's like it reminds me of the Pawn Star shows when people would walk in. Oh, this is the hat that Harrison Ford wore in Indiana Jones, and they're like, no, this is the hat that they sold at Universal Studios when you had a tour there in 1985. Which by the way, still worth something because it's an 85 vintage hat, of ephemera. Yeah. But it's not the one from the movie. So I don't know. I think it's cool that Lewis Hamilton drove one. Was it this one? Probably. That's cool, but we don't know. Oh, hey, look, he's coming back. Let's see if we can get him back. All right. Hey, he's back. All right. Stand by, Blakely. Let's see if your camera's still working. Okay, we got to do some techno stuff here to make Blakely's camera work. And so stand by. Maybe. Maybe we can get it to work. I don't know. Let's try it here. Let's go camera. Let's go Blakely. There he is. Holy, we'll get rid of my ugly mug.
Hey.
He's back. All right. Boom.
Sorry about that. Sorry
All
about
good.
that. My phone
Thanks
did
for coming
die.
back, man.
Yeah. So this car, yeah. And the details I'll talk about this car. It wasn't the headlights. It's the little piece under the headlights with the sort of cutout and the sort of air vent under the headlights on that piece. That's not a factory piece. So that's one of those things that are, it's a very specific piece identifiable to a car. And plus the silver on green. There's photos on there supporting, the details of that car. So we feel pretty confident, plus our relationship with the seller, to say that kind of a claim. Otherwise, we wouldn't typically be like, hey, this is the car that Mariah Carey had sex in the back end. So
I don't want it. I'm out. That's the only reason I was going to buy it.
DNA.
Well,
DNA.
it's yeah. I mean, the limited, obviously, I do love the limited wheels. I do think the 18s serve it well from a standpoint of visually. But
was
yeah,
I right about the Evo 2 wheels? Is that the wheel that came on this car? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it would have been the Evo 2s for sure. Yeah.
I only said that because I was trying to impress you, so I'm glad I got it right.
You did it.
Yeah, hey Blakely, I've had this conversation with Deeb multiple times. He had a what was your Mercedes? Oh, looks like I got
190 16 valve.
Stand by. I got to do another technical thing here because we had lost Blakely for a while, and he's back. Okay, so
I had a 190 16 valve.
Yeah, and at the time when you owned it, Michael, you had put coilovers on it and changed some stuff that didn't seem like a big deal to me, but you swore up and down, unlike, like if you've got a 993 with coilovers on it, that's not going to hurt the value. Most 993 buyers are like, great, are they V3s? Are they something? As long as they're good coilovers, most people are going to they're down. If you change the steering wheel to a Prototypo, or if you put Pfister exhaust on it. But Michael insisted up and down that those coilovers would ruin the value of that car because he insisted that Mercedes buyers are more about the originality. And he was like, no, it's got to have the original weird ass whatever suspension that was unique to that car.
I had working self-leveling suspension, and I put it back on the car because finding a car that still had.
You're making my point, Deep.
That
we're not disagreeing. That's exactly my point.
Working self-leveling suspension was going to be worth more. Not that the coilovers would hurt the value, but I would be leaving money on the table by not putting the stock suspension back on.
What do you? Okay. Oh man. Okay. The coilovers. You said would hurt the value because it didn't have the original suspension. Ergo, it's the coilovers. If it didn't have the coilovers and it had no suspension, are you saying that would have been better? You're driving me nuts here.
Blakely,
are Mercedes buyers more persnickety about originality, and are the details that Michael points out about this car not being original going to be something that hurts it because he says Mercedes people are just that persnickety?
People are definitely detail oriented about originality. I will say that, but on a car like this, you're talking about wheels essentially. I don't think that makes a huge impact. Wheels are probably one of the easiest things to swap out. The bigger issue on this car for me is probably the TMU thing, and the Brabus cluster is cool because it's worth a lot of money on its own, but it's not a value add when you turn it into a TMU car. I've got a 190 16 valve myself, and it's on coils, so I love the way it drives on coils too. So I don't think that hurts on a car like that. But yeah, I don't see it. I don't think it's gonna hurt this car with the wheels being different. Which
coilovers did you put on your car?
It doesn't have the self-leveling.
Calm down. We're talking Mercedes stuff here. Hold on.
I can't take credit for it. I cannot take credit for it. I got it like this. This is a former car that was actually on BaT, so it's got if I remember correctly, I want to say it's iBox springs. It's either iBox or H&R's.
Yeah.
So
I had one on H&R Cup Kit, which was really nice, but they're not coilovers, they're not adjustable. And then on this one I just had, I did the ground control with the iBox and the Bilsting, or the Coney, iBox and Coney, and it was really good, but it was really stiff.
All right,
Way,
guys.
way stiffer than the Cup Kit. All right, moving on.
What's
So
this car going to bring?
Numbers. So our car closes tomorrow on the MB market, is currently sitting at $50,000 on 10 bids. I think that the TMU is going to hurt the value of this car. I think this would have been an $85,000 to $120,000 car all day long, but I think that with the low bid count and the confusion and that they're arguing about it in the chat, I am a little bearish on this one. So I'm going to say $69,000, which probably is not going to be enough. My guess it's if it lands at 69,000, I think it's an FTS. It's a fail to sell. JP, where are you at?
Yeah, guys, I can't say that I know a ton about these. The Japanese market cars don't typically bring as much as ones that are American, so I'm going to be pretty bearish on this thing. I'm going to say 57.5. Don't make any bets on mine, but I just don't know if this is going to hit. I hope I'm wrong. What are the let's see here, the bid nerds out there? The nerd herd is out there saying, let's see here, Rosk is coming in at 59.5. Randy really close to me, 58.5. Okay, all right, I'm not feeling quite so bad. Chris says 72.5. All right, so he has a little bit more belief in this thing.
He's also good friends with Blakely.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. This is a really cool ass car. Let's be very clear about that. This thing is badass. I know I'm kind of like I have. Okay, help us out with the seller, Blakely. While you were trying to get your comms back on, I don't have. I'm not going to say I have issues with the seller, but I don't have confidence in this seller. Help us out with that. What can you tell us about the seller? You said you have a relationship with them. They get a lot of weird cars. A lot of times they get cars you're like, where the hell? How do they keep getting these weird, crazy, unbelievable cars? How do they do that consistently without just knowing a bunch of Colombian drug lords? I mean, that's what it just seems like. It just seems like they're pulling cars out of Eastern Europe that were stolen from somewhere from, I don't know, what the hell?
Both of those things are true.
Two things can be true at the same time. Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a little bit of truth to all of it. But I think, they're getting a lot of those cars off of, Japanese auctions and stuff like that. They're doing the legwork to get them here. One, finding them, knowing what they're looking for, getting them here, servicing them, getting them turnkey ready for people. They definitely have their own, specific brand of car. And I think it works really well. When I was in it, last summer, I went to Miami, had a few clients down there, and actually just went to stop in and see them, just because I love what they're doing. And there's some Benz guys as well, so got to spend a little bit of time with them over the last year. Kind of developed a little bit of a relationship. We've sold some other cars for them since then, and those buyers have been really happy. And everything's been as described, so no issues there. So that's just from the experience that I've had. But I'm sure there's other things to be had out there, but it's all been very positive on our end. So
every time I see one of their cars listed, it's in this driveway next to this shithole stucco wall. What is their problem? I mean, they sell $250,000 cars for lunch. They can't get a better building. They can't get a better facility or find a goddamn wall that doesn't look like it's like, oh my God, is this a repo lot? What the hell is with that?
Yeah, that's right outside of their main building, and I bust their balls all the time about that, man. I'm like, man, take this thing to a nice location, over the water, just anything. I mean, you're in Miami, like, for God's sakes, there's so many places to go. But I mean, the photos are good. They show the car for what it's worth. It's just they leave out a little bit of the glamour, which it's not a bad thing, I guess, or there's nothing wrong with it, because they are still quality photos. But I could deal with a little bit more of a scenic backdrop if it was me personally.
Or get a studio that has no backdrop, something, blank
Yeah.
or something. Get a studio. There's a genuine problem when you see a stupid stucco wall right next to the car. It looks cheap. It looks like the car is a repo. Next time you talk to him, tell him BidNerd said that. That's all I know. All right.
Got it.
All right. So our car is also on a clean Florida title. So as they brought it in, they put it on a Florida title, which I think is a big bonus. That means you can borrow money to buy this car. And then you can get it into most of the lower 48, just not California.
Yeah, looks like we lost Blake again, but that's all right. He was able to chime in with what he wanted to say. Blakely, you're more than likely to chime back in if you can get your tech together.
We just have one quick car to finish up with, and then let's get it.
Yeah, let's get to this last car. Is so stupid anyway. I can't believe you picked this. What do you do? What the hell? What is this thing, Deeb?
I thought it was very interesting because I can't remember seeing one. So on Cars and Bids is this 2015 Ford Taurus Police Interceptor with 84,000 miles out of Issaquah, Washington. It's a no reserve auction. It's got a 3.7 liter normally aspirated V6 that makes 305 horsepower and 280 pound-foot of torque. It's got heavy-duty suspension, full disc brakes all the way around, and then all the other police upgrades and nondescript, all the stuff, the push bar and whatnot. Just an interesting car. JP, have you ever driven a cop car with all the heavy-duty stuff? Like, this car can run over broken glass and over curbs and still remain in pursuit. It is all-wheel drive. I should have mentioned that. Automatic, with a 6-speed automatic. But you just don't see cars come up like this that don't have like 260,000 miles on them. So I just thought this thing was pretty hilarious. Like, what would it be like to drive this unmarked police car in the fast lane of your favorite freeway and just watch everybody duck out of your way? Like, that would just be hilarious. So anyway, JP, I just thought this would be amusing. It's a no reserve auction. What do you think of these things? Any love at all for the cop car package?
I hate the people that drive these. There's nothing worse than getting stuck, on the road behind someone in one of them or in front of someone. I mean, yeah, this is just, I don't know. I mean, really? I mean, by the way, it's Issaquah. Yeah, I said
Issaquah.
Issaquah. Yeah, I put the emphasis on the incorrect syllable, but it's all those weird Indian names in the Northwest. Sahan thinks that's funny because he knows how it's actually pronounced. Yeah.
Milwaukee. It comes from the Indian.
Milwaukee, yes.
Alice Cooper mansplaining the English language.
I mean, you gotta love. This would be the greatest Uber car. If they would let you drive it, because I mean, you just like your passengers could throw up in the back and you could just hose it out. It probably already smells like at least a few thousand people have. If you wanted to do one of those crazy cross country runs, this would be a great car to do it in.
Yeah, that Texas thing. Could you do it? What's the budget on that Texas thing?
You got to have a car that's like under a couple of grand. So this is going to be well out of that. I mean,
that would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this would be fun to screw around with, but this is okay. I mean, I guess if you're going to sell something like this, Cars and Bids is the place to give it a whirl. What's this thing going to bring?
All right, it closes in a day. It's at $6,000 on 3 bids. I think it's going to sell for $9,000.
Okay, I'm going to come in at 7. And he finds another grand, just sits there. Do you think you think it sells at that?
It's no reserve, so it's going to sell.
No reserve. Okay, so 7 grand. Yeah, I think it gets 7 grand. I think that's it. That's it. That's what we got. Any of the nerd herd got anything to say about that car? Doesn't look like anyone wants to throw a bid in on the stupid police car. This has been one hell of an ish show. Thank you to Blakely for hanging out with us and giving us some insight on their platform, Mercedes markets, or Mercedes-Benz market rather. Great guy. Great to see a young guy in the business and, kind of making it happen. So that's really cool. It looks like Blakely's making a bid at $8,000. All right. So
nice.
He's splitting the difference between, he's a quick learner. He figures out.
Oh, yeah.
He knows how to play the game.
Big canyon, and he just occupied all of it. So there you go.
Ross says it's got a gumball sticker, so maybe someone had my idea there. Randy's coming in at 6,666. Yeah, buddy. And Ross is going big time. He's getting closer to UD, but at 8,500. So, yeah, good night, nerds. Chris Carbine says, thanks to you guys on the East Coast who hung out with us this long. It's, tomorrow's Monday. That sucks. But at least you got to extend your weekend out a little extra long with the nerds. Bid Nerds say thank you. And we will see you guys all not next, but this coming Wednesday. Yeah, see you guys Wednesday. Bye.
Nerds! Get those nerds!